And we're back to the action. It looks like there was a small technical difficulty when it came to the voice client we're using, but everything should be good now. As we do see the first few picks have come through. We do see a Raijin, a Kumbhakarna, and an Odin coming out for Forsaken. Meanwhile, the Papis have hi-rez, a Khepri, and a Nemesis this time around. Excuse me.
So the Poppies lining themselves up with a decent-looking team. Now, I don't know how confident their AD carry feels on a hi-rez, but this does force Forsaken to recognize a different AD carry choice. In the last two games, we saw him on hi-rez. This time around, we'll see him on a different AD carry just to see what he can pull off on a different position. Now, bans come through. Scylla for Forsaken ban, which is interesting. They might have been trying to eliminate that pick potential for the Poppies on a previous game. And then the Poppies ban out Humbots. Meanwhile, Forsaken immediately taking out Nuwa.
Nuwa was such a devastating factor last game. Alex MC went completely off the last game, and Kronos also taken off the table by the Poppies out here. So we're gonna remove one of those late game carries, but not all of them. Fly to safety locks in Kali.
All right, so Forsaken have a really scary team composition. They have the Odin that they've relied on. Kumbhakarna is, I feel like, the unspoken hero of this team composition, at least this time around. Now, I'm really excited to see how Jermaine does on Anhur. Anhur is a character that didn't do too hot on Forsaken, or excuse me, on Poppies. And now we get to see whether or not Jermaine feels confident with it. And if he does, I imagine that this is going to be a very, very scary team.
It's going to demand a lot of early pressure, and here we go. Here's the odd pick for Poppies this game. Neith coming out in this current composition right here.
This implies that Alex MC is more than likely going to take Neith over into the solo lane. Just wants to give a high sustain, high poke damage character over into the soul lane to kind of limit the ability of Forsaken to just freely do what they want with this Odin. And they have yet to go on anything but Odin. Mogao has lived and died by the Odin pick. And honestly, I think he's performed very exceedingly in every instance he's played it. It's just that certain aspects of the team didn't do so well. Now, the other thing to mention here and worth noting is that Kali was picked up by Forsaken, which means that they're relying also on a late game burst damage out of Kali. But Raijin is going to take the wheels alongside Anhur in the earlier stages of the game.
And Kali is being played by Fly to Safety, who had a very impressive performance on other hyper carries. He did very well on Ao Kuang, and at the same time, he did a great job on Hunbots, going for a more carry-oriented build. So I want to see if he performs, like if he does really well in this other main hyper carry on Kali. So if he can handle it just as well as he handles an Ao Kuang, I think this does spell very good news for Forsaken. But Poppies have no team comp to Slapshot either. Khepri on David Arnaz is a massive tool, and we saw how aggressively he liked to use that ultimate on Khepri in early stages of the game the last few times.
So with the teams all lined up and set up, I'm going to go ahead and give my hat over to Forsaken just because of the Raijin pick mostly. We saw how great it was in Warchi's hands. Maybe this time around, Tins can feel a bit more comfortable with the Raijin pick and might be able to get more done than he has these past two games.
I think the big factor, if Forsaken wants to win this game, will be can Tins step up to the plate this time around. The ball is definitely in his court to respond here, and his team needs him to step up here. And if Fly to Safety can perform on another hyper carry as well. If this happens, I think with their team comp, Forsaken can win it. But if Poppies play like they played at the end of the last game, if they're just as consistent, if they're on top of those calls and follow through, I think they've got a legitimate shot at pulling out the championship this week.
Well, we'll get to that just in a brief moment. You guys let us know who you think is going to win and why. We'll be back after a brief moment. Remember, this is the final game of the European Spring Challenger Cup, Week 2. Get hyped, guys. We'll be right back.
And we are live with the action featuring Forsaken and Poppies facing off in the final game of Week 2 of the European Challengers Cup, as it's been a hard-fought path for both teams, and now they're facing the toughest battle of them all this series. It's been a game of adaptation and mid-game adaptations of that. It's been a game of comebacks. And will the trend continue for this one, or will we see a very straightforward match, or will it be a slugfest the whole way through?
It's probably going to be a slugfest. I mean, Forsaken felt so confident at certain stages of the game last time around. They probably thought that they could write off and say, all right, we got this week, boys. Let's go ahead and just close out in a nice, smooth ride, and ended up losing the game altogether. But this time around, it's going to be up to them to decide whether or not they want to continue the same effort level that we saw out of them in the mid game last time around, because Papis didn't seem to change anything in the mid game for themselves last time. So maybe they'll do better this time around, maybe they won't. But at the end of the day, Papis has not shown that they are very confident in the mid stages of the game.
I do feel the big step that needs to be made for the Papis is they need to step in the mid game, not just the late game. They need to step up and deliver in these mid skirmishes. And they definitely showed a lot of improvement in their later game plays last game. They were making these high impact team fights. They weren't afraid to go for these fights, and they're making the right calls and engaging at all the right times here. But that may not be enough here, as we will see a bit of an engagement come down in the duo lane here. Forsaken able to disengage quite easily right now. Dart is able to add enough of a threat here, but Dart is taking a lot of damage here as Perilla running himself out of mana, but putting a lot of poke down on both of them.
Now over in the duo lane, they seem to be looking for an aggressive opportunity as they've locked down Hoi just a little bit, started raining a little bit more damage onto him over there. Going back over to the solo lane, where that's probably the more interesting matchup, at least in my opinion. Odin taking a very passive approach in dealing with Neith. He recognizes he can't box her, so he's just settled on clearing the wave and making sure that he can get as much gold and farm as possible.
And that's all he really needs to do here. He can still bring that cage to these fights. He's going to be useful as long as he stays even enough here. And Mogi has done a good job at actually being able to stay even in any matchup he goes into. So I'm not too worried about the duo lane unless there's some kind of major solo lane, unless there's some kind of major interference from somebody on the map here. The big story is Tin taking a lot of damage right now in the mid lane, actually, and Dalo could find an aggression moment.
Yeah, Warchi being soul is going to mean there's a little bit of a lighter amount of aggression. It's going to be consistent poke over a long period of time, but there's still always that threat, especially when you look right now. Tins is just getting poked down little by little each time. He has to be really careful because if he loses his purple pot, it's going to be devastating to his efforts to try and clear.
Yeah, this time around, he's able to survive long enough here. Has to burn through a lot of potions here, but he will stay safe in time. We'll see Fly to safety, maybe try to make a play on Alex MC here, but Alex MC is going to be safe and sound. I think Fly to safety was possibly pinged away from lane. And now they get back there. Ooh, MC going in a bit deep here. Takes a lot of poke, but he's near his tower. In the meantime, duo Jermaine picks up first blood on David Arnaz right there. So Jermaine off to a good start on the Anhur.
Well, there's the Mez. He's going to rain a little bit of damage under Perilla, who is forced to retreat to tower. Level 5 on her means that if Perilla gets caught out in a bad spot, he could easily end up getting a very nasty chunk of a Desert Fury. So him backing off, smart decision. On her being able to go back, get the full Golden Bow as well as level 1 boots. Coming back to lane, feeling rather confident. And that's just the story we've seen out of Jermaine as he went through most stages of this series. He's always been consistent in boxing and bullying out the Papis jungler or AD carry.
And now with those boots, he's going to have a little bit of a trading advantage. He's going to be able to move around, run circles around it, combined with the slow that Anhur can very easily apply. He's going to be able to box very easily with Perilla right here. As long as he can avoid getting stunned out by the mark, he's going to have a fairly nice time here, especially since he's going to be able to just consistently land his auto shots and have an easier time dodging away. So, all in all, I think things should continue quite well for Jermaine here.
Over in the jungle on the opposite end, it looks like a combined effort of Kali as well as Anhur going to clear out the red buff. Good job giving over as much XP and gold to the Anhur on top of splitting it between the jungler and aiding the jungler again. This is going to allow for Anhur to consistently stay ahead of the Hou as long as possible. 3-man splitting the left mid Harpies is 3 people also split the right side Harpies. Both teams getting 1 apiece. Or maybe not. It might be a
looks like they want to try something. Yeah, it's not going to turn to much here except for Darty setting up a great fight. Warchi and a lot of trouble teleporter from Tins. They could set this up quite nicely here. The Demon Paralyze will come through, but here we go. Taiko Drums going to neutralize the stun coming across from the World Weaver. Now Warchi solo will fall to Fly to safety. quick spin around with that ultimate. And now Forsaken looking incredibly impressive there. Wake up a kill on top of that mid camp.
So 2 kills up is Forsaken. I don't remember a time that we've seen Forsaken actually ahead in the early stage of the game. This is a new experience for us viewing.
One of the bigger leads we've seen in this series. One of the bigger leads we've seen at this point in the game in this series in general.
Yeah. It seems. So pretty surprising. Wonder how Forsaken's going to handle being in the driver's seat at this early stage of the game. Are they going to go for an early goal here? Are they going to go for maybe a bit more of an aggressive play over in the soul lane to try and bully out this Neith? I mean, where do they stand in terms of that? But it looks like they're going to put a lot of attention on to try and save their Anhur, who they won't be able to save just yet. Fly safety able to find the revenge kill onto Perilla. Meanwhile, Kumbhakarna, who still hasn't had his passive procced, is going to act as a deterrent for the enemy team. Oh, but now Dalo is forced to use the double dash to safety. Odin doesn't have the ultimate available just yet, or does he? Yes, there it is. He's going to go ahead and go for it. That's another kill onto Wardchi as Nemesis pops the ultimate, but is nowhere near to get anything out of it. Fly to safety, unfortunately not able to get out of that bad positioning. He didn't have his jump available to save him either.
Yeah, couldn't fly to safety there, but luckily for them, Tins is getting a solid amount of kills here. And at the same time, Khalid is sitting at 2-1 right now. Going to be nearing that spike a lot faster here. Tins looking to put some pressure on the Alex MC here, but MC able to dodge quite nicely, teleport in for the guaranteed damage right there. Might take a bit of poke from MC, but all in all, it's an even trade when it comes to that so far. But Forsaken now only hold an 800 gold lead. And Papis is fighting back incredibly well in these past two teams, in this past team fight.
There is that trade potential you see out of Wardchi, bringing down about a third of Tin's health. Meanwhile, over in the soul lane, boom, bird bomb comes in, but actually doesn't get anything out of it. Neith charging her ultimate sends it over onto Anhur, who is able to just casually walk back to tower and is more than likely going to back. That was a distraction for the Gold Fury play that they're making right now. And you can already see the response coming out. There it is. That's when Papis getting the Gold Fury, but they're going to lose so much more as Muga already gets a kill into David Arnaz, and they're looking to try and continue it onto the Soul, who's blocked off by the pillar. And oh man, can they get out with Perilla? Yes, they can. So 2 kills going the way of Forsaken for the Gold Fury. That's still a victory for them looking at the charts.
Looking at the chart, it's a massive XP victory for Forsaken right there. And Gold actually nearly brought back up to the same point it was from those kills. And with this farm they might be able to get here, it's going to be actually more or less exactly where they started here. So Forsaken coming out ahead thanks to actually finding quite a few kills during that Gold Fury.
A little bit of a swing back when Neith got the Soul Lane Tower tier 1, but not enough to really justify the loss that they got out of that Gold Fury attempt. And I think the bigger story for me, at least, is that Khalid is now 2-1, Odin is now 2-0, and Raijin is 2-0. So you see the evenly split kills going to all of these primary characters that Neith do well, and of course, Jermaine has done well consistently the entire time, but he might be in a little bit of trouble here, forced away from Ho Yi. He might actually go for a ricochet. There it is. Misses it.
Yeah, good dodge from Jermaine. Would have been hit if he continued that back right there. So good for them to mind. He plays a lot of Ho Yi, so he's got to know those bounce locations and where they're going to come from. Fly to safety, though. Waiting in the wings. He's got to pull the trigger if he wants to go for it. Not going to interrupt the back, unfortunately. So looks like we're going to see the 80 carries escape from the situation.
I guess he couldn't find the location for a jump.
Looks like.
It looked like he just kind of was like, well, crap, there's nowhere for me to jump. And ended up losing out on that potential. But you win some, you lose some. Not a huge loss at the end of the day. In fact, Forsaken still ahead in gold and still vastly ahead in XP. Or actually, no, it's gotten brought back quite a bit.
Actually going to even out quite nicely here as Forsaken no longer holds much of a gold lead. XP lead still trends a bit in their favor, but Papis have done a solid job across the board bringing things down to an even level here.
So taking a look at the builds for a brief moment, Kali already working on the kin size. She's going to complete that here soon, then work on a Fatalis. Odin going his typical route of boots into a not mystical, that's way bad. Breastplate of Valor. And then over in the middle lane, it is a a Dynasty Plate Helm into Shoes of the Magi from Soul.
Yeah, it's a bit of an interesting one here. The Dynasty Plate Helm, an item that I'm not exactly familiar with as all that often. What do you think is really causing Warch to go ahead and build this one out here? He has a lot of debts to physical damage lists. So that could be one of the things that's pushing him towards that.
I mean, there's a lot of factors. Like, for example, the Anhur, there's the Khalid that's going to be pressuring you. Odin might make some heavy rotations. You're basically just looking for anything to aid you in survival against some of the more agitating characters. I mean, even right now, Odin could come over to Soul and really cause havoc, but there's no real point for her to do so. Odin proxying the wave. This is something I'm not used to seeing.
I mean, he's in a really solid position. He's actually getting a lead level-wise on Alex MC. Gonna get rooted out under the tower, but he's got the bird shield. He's gonna be fine and dandy. Kicks a bit of poke, but Alex MC not able to bring enough damage to bear against him, take him down. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, we see a lot of pressure coming out from the Papis here, but Forsaken able to back off and stay safe.
Oh man, over in the middle lane, there might be a little bit of a fight breaking out here soon, but it doesn't look like they want it just yet. Kumbhakarna, actually one of these supports that we didn't get a lot of opportunity to talk about. He is probably, I mean, I said he was going to be the unsung hero, but realistically speaking, he is going to be the unsung hero. He is yet to have his passive procced. He's definitely a high nuisance, able to eliminate someone from the fight for a brief moment very effectively with the epic uppercut. A lot of utility to this character that makes him very annoying. And speaking of which, he's going to go right forward into a a root, and that should set up a kill. But unfortunately for them, Khepri Ultimate is going to say otherwise.
Yeah, but now Warchi's in an awkward spot here. They could look to lock on that damage, but unfortunately, Tim just can't trigger that mark right there. Will trigger as soon as Warchi comes out of the disap right there. And I do want to say this. You said he would be the unsung hero, but I got to pull props to Dardes in this game so far. He's sitting at 0-0-6, has been involved in almost every single kill on the map for Forsaken. Aside from, I believe, what was a solo kill in the mid lane. Actually, in the solo lane, he's been a pretty major factor here for his team.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Supports have been a big factor this game, and that's out of
necessity. In general.
Yeah, that's out of necessity. They've had several moments where it's up to them to make the fight go their way or not go their way. And so far, both supports have made impactful plays over the series, as you mentioned. That has gone one way or the other. However, I will say this. Over on the player damage numbers, surprised to see Raijin's not even in the top 5.
Unfortunately, Tins, while he is surviving on this Raijin and has some kills, he hasn't really been bringing that much damage to bear, it seems. He's hitting a few shots, but it's not really enough. He's bringing the damage that matters, but is that enough is the question. As Perla will take down Jermaine in a 1 versus 1 right there. Dardes realizes he needs to leave the area right there as Fly to safety, getting attacked by Dalo and friend, looking for the stun. Here comes Tins, raining in the Taiko drum. Now he's got the damage he needs, but Warchi finds Fly to safety, and it looks like the entire squad will be escaped thanks to David Arnaz making a massive play with that Khepri ulti. Unfortunately, Dalo, wrong place, wrong time, meets Mogao on his way out here. Now Mogao looking to rain in some death and destruction, has the bird bomb. Perla jumps at the backside, gonna get stunned up by Tins, but unfortunately Tins going to meet the arrow to the face right there. Daredevil will pick out Perilla now as Mogao, the defining factor for his team, rushes David Arnaz away from the fight here. Papis sitting ahead, though, at the end of the day, as David Arnaz and Dardes will engage in some supportal combat, but I don't think they're going to do enough to kill each other right there.
Support slap-offs usually never result in a kill. The unfortunate thing for the members of Forsaken is that Neith was able to use a World Weaver and still make enough of an impact for them to have an even fight there. And now members of Forsaken are looking at a darn near dead Tier 2 tower over on the right side of the map. Not an ideal situation. As soon as they get taken out, you're looking at an entire half the map just bare.
And that's going to be a little bit worrying for Forsaken right now, especially with how easy that tower is. A single poke will take it down, and it's not even really worth trying to defend here. I think Papis are going to try to, they're going to try to inch towards it here, and Forsaken are aware of that, so they're going to try to keep that wave away, but if that wave pushes too far out, it's going to be all but good game for that tower here. And that's going to be a ton, and I mean a ton of map pressure in favor of the Papis.
Over on the left side of the map, a lot of ward contestation. You see Kumbhakarna trying to counter the ward on the Gold Fury, so to make sure that they have vision on it. Anhur getting bullied out yet again. He's going to be taken out here more than likely. Yep, Perilla finds the revenge kills from past games in this series, and he's now the one leading the charge over in the duo lane, whereas Raijin is forced out of the fight immediately. Aegis popped by the soul. She's going to be in a troublesome spot. There's the Taiku drunks coming out. It doesn't matter. Khepri ultimate is going to ensure her survival temporarily. And Khalid get to her target. No, Mugao is going to take that away from her. She's going to be forced to use the ultimate just to get out of the fight. Yet it still continues. Neith all the way on the other side of the map. She's just going to feel free to take whatever she wants over there. Meanwhile, it doesn't look like Forsaken or Papis are going to be able to do anything else with this one.
And Papis want to buy time for Neith to go ahead and take the tower there. As long as they get away, they're going to be fine. Perilla wants to finish off Tins because he was a little bit overstaying. Okay, too much overstaying his welcome right there. And Forsaken going to get away with no health bars left at all. Whereas Papis, not so lucky, losing a few members there.
Oh, very not so lucky. Luckily, though, Forsaken doesn't have anything left for Neith to take. Otherwise, there would be more gold in the pockets of Papis. Papis leading the charge by 2,000 gold. No Gold Fury available, or they can't take the Gold Fury anytime soon. But you got to think that they're looking to try and take a much cleaner fight so that they can take that objective in the nearby future. And with Khepri, that is a strong possibility.
It's a strong possibility here, and you got to be well aware as Forsaken right now. See what the Papis starting to go onto a pretty major upswing right now in the mid game of all things as well. So gotta be watching out for that one. Papis did suffer 2 kills, like I said, from a little bit of over aggression, but
hello.
Yeah, what's up, Shadowboy? Can you hear me?
Oh, okay. No, I thought Discord. Right. I thought Discord went out on me again.
Okay. So it looks like we are all good when it comes to voice then.
Oh man, but I tell you who's not all good. This Soul is unfortunately trying to get out of a bad spot. Is able to get off her damage, however, and that is going to be a bit of a wash as he didn't really result in anything. Gold Fury attempted by the members of Forsaken. Meanwhile, Odin acting as the deterrent on this whole Yi to try and prevent him from getting involved in this fight. He still does have the ultimate. Is going to throw it out there. Sunbreaker doing a lot to keep him from actually completing the Gold Fury. Odin, Ring of Spear is going to land on the 3 people, but it doesn't even matter. David Arnaz is going to fall to Jermaine as the last bit of pressure in terms of damage is being chased under the tier 1 tower. She's gonna be killed off by Fly to Safety, who didn't have her target on the knee. And now Nemesis is on the chase, maybe looking towards the Raijin. Nope, not gonna be the case. Perilla is able to take out Jermaine yet again.
And now Tins on the wrong side of this fight here will retreat back to Moga, but Dalo is still chasing Perilla, actually almost getting caught out here. Moga doing so much right there. Looks for the bounce, not gonna find it. Now Moga, he sees his prey. Tins walking around. They're gonna find the shot here. Is now Perilla kiting as best he can, but Moga finds the last stab of the spear right there. Moga now alone with Warchi and Dalo. Can he get out of this one is the question. He doesn't have the mana for a leap. There's gonna be a slow caught onto him right there. He will find a leap over towards that red camp, and he's gonna get back to safety here as the Papis, too strong, turn around towards the Gold Fury and look to put some health onto it. As they should be able to get it here. Dardas gonna attempt to play. He's got some disruption here, but can he steal it? I don't think so, but he can delay long enough until we see the Neith arrow coming on in. He's doing whatever he can, but Papis will get the Gold Fury.
Yeah, he's able to actually get out. Kumbhakarna using the Mez just to try and maybe make a chance of stealing the Gold Fury. Wasn't going to happen, though. Wrath is actually paying slight dividends over to the members of Papis, whereas Forsaken don't have any objective secure really at all. I mean, Raijin is their best bet, and even he isn't that bursty, not in the same essence as, say, a Isis, Poseidon, anything like that.
Unfortunately, Tin still is not delivering the damage he needs. He's sitting at the 3rd lowest in the game right now. Now we will see Alex MC getting caught out quite handily there. Dalo able to provide a nice bit of support with the slow so far. Will tag Moga with the ultimate as Moga goes for the bird bump. He's trying to buy as much time as he can. Alex MC gets some healing down, but there's so much damage coming from Moga right now. A leap, a kill, and Dardas is the one to lock it down here. Mez onto him. Dalo now locked in the middle of a cage with so much damage coming through here, and it's not nearly enough to save his life. He leaps away, but it's not going to keep him safe. Dalo will fall at the end of the day here. As David Arnaz falling away from this one here. Papis now only holding a 2K lead here, as it looks like Forsaken want to keep chasing, they want to keep fighting, and they want back in.
Over on the right side of the map, Odin as well as Kumbhakarna are pushing down tier 1 tower on the left side. And then over on the left side, Anhur forced again under his tier 2 with tier 1 still available. He thinks that he's got a shot, goes for it, there it is, and immediately gets punished. Hello?
Yeah, it looks like things look like we're getting there. Sorry, I'm having a few issues on my end, but it is working now, it seems.
Alright, so all around, Papis is starting to feel the pressure a little bit from Forsaken, as Forsaken is just doing a fantastic job of catching back up in this game.
They're doing a fantastic job out here. Papis found a great play at that gold for you, but Forsaken seems just inch in with fight after fight after fight, and it's been a miracle that Papis is able to hold on this long here, as now they're only have about 500 gold compared to the 2,000 or 2,000 so they held just moments ago, as now Forsaken listening to keep finding these picks here, and they've been able to do so consistently, actually.
And the one interesting thing to note is that Warchi is being held down so consistently. I mean, 1 in 6, he is actually second highest player damage, but he has just not been allowed to farm as much as we all know he can. And surprisingly enough, the one weak link of Forsaken right now is actually Anhur.
Yeah, that is actually a bit surprising right there. He's sitting decently healthy in player damage, actually second highest on his team, but not really performing when it comes to a lot of the KDR right now, and especially missing out on some of that major pressure delivering team fights here. As one will be breaking out a little bit, but a quick disengage from Dardes, showing the power of Kumbhakarna.
Yeah, Kumbhakarna is just so difficult to deal with sometimes. You don't want to beat a Mez that you know is just used as a disengage tool, but at the same time, you have to recognize that you're missing out on a lot of opportunities because of plays like that. So, expecting the Mez coming from the Kumbhakarna on her way for the Impale, but now Khepri ultimate is used. This is a good disengage moment for Forsaken. They realize that they got what they wanted, and now they can go back into the next fight they choose to take with the confidence, knowing that Khepri will not be able to revive anyone they fully invest in.
And that's a lot of confidence to have right there. Just need to actually take the opportunity and take this chance to. There's 5 ultimates available for Forsaken here, and they definitely have the timers on David Arnaz right now, as well as Warchi's most likely, as I do remember them seeing that one being popped on them. So, hopefully they have the timers as they blink in. Dardes smells it in the water, and he's going straight for the 3-man Mez right into a massive root here. The Taiko drums raining a lot of death in here as the Sunbreak trying to prevent this fight from pushing any further here. Tin will need to walk away here as well for safety. Way too deep. Fly to safety is going to fall with his ultimate still available right there, and Forsaken going to be actually on the losing end of that trade here.
Oh my goodness, that was such a good opportunity for Forsaken. Khepri ultimate down, a lot of cooldowns used, and it just ended up so poorly. I mean, Kali didn't even get to use her ultimate. There's a lot of factors in that team fight that just ended up with Forsaken on such the poor end of the fight.
It was just a really awkward and sloppy fight here out of Forsaken right now. Now Papis looking to pull a retreating fight here. Mogal looking for his way in, will find Perilla with quite a bit of damage here, but David Arnaz is able to back him up, and they will slide away from this one here. As looks like Forsaken just can't find their way in.
I think that I liked how the front line handled that last engagement on the side of Forsaken. I really like the Blink Epic Uppercut, and I really like the Odin Ring of Spears that came out. I mean, it zoned out quite decisively. But the person that they left out was way off in the distance, and Kali decided to go in the cage, and I think there was a slight miscommunication, possibly thinking that her team was going to follow up in the cage.
It was a very good initiation right there. In fact, it looked like that fight was going to be the fight that would take Forsaken out of this game and make them run off with it here. But unfortunately for them, because it seemed like a bit of a miscommunication, their fly to safety went way too deep, didn't get a chance to fire off his ultimate, and died with that one still in tow. That is a massive bad situation for Forsaken to be in right there. And Papis was able to actually trade away the 1 kill of that fight, and now they're looking to move towards the Gold Fury here and gain back whatever deficit, well, whatever lead they had. Is now they're taking this Gold Fury.
Gold Fury dance begins, then only the front liners remain over here near the objective. Lee has to back off quite early in this fight, but you need to get in there soon. The Gold Fury isn't going to last that long, and there it is. Odin Ring of Spears catches all 5, and actually, this might be a good fight for them as Bird Bomb does a huge amount of damage. There's the Raikou drums that set up 2 kills for them. Gold Fury was taken by Papis, but Kali is on the backside, 1v2 him, and pretty much winning that fight. Bird Bomb is ready to burst onto the... Oh, there's the Desert Fury. Perilla going down to a combined effort of Bird Bomb with the Desert Fury between Odin and Anhur. And they get an objective finally under their belt, and they're going for another one.
3-0, and soon to be 2 towers going in favor of Forsaken. Papis may have gotten the Gold Fury, but I think Forsaken are going to get the better end of this trade at the end of the day here, and they're going to be quite happy for this one. The second tower will fall over in this lane here, exposing a Phoenix. And they've also got a good shot to move towards mid lane and take another one. If Dalo and MC don't back off right now, they could be the next men in coffins for this game, and they're going to back away here. And I think Forsaken can get this mid lane tower as well, so it's a lot of swing going in favor of Forsaken after what looked like a great play for Papis, but unfortunately turned incredibly sour for them.
Yeah, I don't think they want to push their luck too hard on that mid tower. In fact, Raijin doesn't want to push his luck on this mid camp, so
they recognize, you can leave it for later.
Yeah, they recognize their win. They're gonna just back off and be satisfied with it.
It's a mistake we've seen them make occasionally. It's a mistake we've seen both teams make occasionally. They get a little bit overeager and they go a bit too deep on these mid-game pushes here, and they end up fighting off way more than they can do. That's where we saw a lot of the comebacks come from. So I think this time around, props to Forsaken for realizing that they're able to walk away with the win they got and not pushing the issue too much, because those health bars are incredibly critical, and Papis weren't too far away.
All right, so everyone's grouped up, ready to fight. Both sides getting really close to those high damage markers. I mean, Kali already has her Fatalis Wingblade and actually has a stone cutting sword on top of all that, so she's really reaching her strides.
Yeah, she's completely taking off right now, and that's the big problem for Papis out here. They had a good showing, they put up good fights here, but Forsaken, we're reaching that stride where their late game completely dominates everybody else here. They've got Kali, and she is reaching her death zone right there. And it was Fatalis, so what can you do as Kali gets bigger and bigger right now as Papis?
No telling. I mean, Papis is really looking to try and abuse Raijin as well as the Anhur, which has been going well for them so far. I mean, taking a look at it, Jermaine is not doing as well as he did last time. And it's a lot of 1v1s rather than, you know, he got focused down or anything like that. So that's one of the saving graces they have, but the other factor they have to consider is that they have to just take smart team fights. They can't go for these sloppy ones. 1-7 Soul. Even though Soul is second highest player damage, that doesn't excuse being dead that much. Cheeky Fire Giant play is the call for Forsaken, and they're going to disengage off of it. So, no, they're actually going to keep it. Odin Ring of Spears is going to ensure that they get the Fire Giant, and that's the power of Odin with his Ring of Spears.
It was so well positioned right there. It blocked most of the major entrances, and it forced Papis, if they wanted to go for it, to be funneled into a massive choke point right there. Will completely dominate them if they go for that choke point right there. It made them have only one decision that would even result in them getting something right there, and that's giving up and just running away from this right there. It sucks, but you've got to make the best of a bad situation right there, and unfortunately, that was just bad for them, and great play from Forsaken right there, especially Mogo.
Only a 1k lead in favor of Forsaken. They're making the charge and starting it with the mid-tier 1 tower, possibly looking for a second one depending on how much retaliation they see out of the members of the Papis.
I mean, with Fire Giant taking on them right now, Papis backing off and on the back foot especially. I think they're all but guaranteed they'll just clean up the last of the tier 2 towers right now. It's way too risky for Papis to overextend and fight this, especially with how much damage can be brought to bear against them. Especially against a Fire Giant up late game Kali. There's no real chance to do this. They're just going to draw back and hold the line at the Phoenixes, which is the right call, I feel.
Yeah, they have a lot of potential to fight out of Phoenix and make a big play there. The other thing they have to consider, though, is that right now, all the members of Forsaken that are backing are going to have full finalized builds, and that is just a tough proposition to go up against. I'm interested to see what Kali finishes out with this mace. It could be Titan's Bane. It could be a Brawler's Beat Stick. I mean, there's a lot of options there, so I want to see what that turns into. Also, what Odin goes for with as his last item. Is he going to go offensive, or is he going to go for a more I want to die at the tower? So these guys are going to back here soon, probably after the goal period, and finalize their build so that they can come out and finish out this game.
It looks like Kali has gone with Titan's Bane there, a lot of extra penetration, so Kali is going to be tearing down even the tankiest of targets on the side of Papis right now. Forsake, they're in such a good position to just run away with this game right now. At 30 minutes in, see them take things down here. We're at the full late game. Death timers are at their maximum here. Everybody has hit that max point in the game right now, and well, everybody on the side of Forsaken is at that full build point, aside from a few super luxury items that will replace those starter items on about 3 or so members.
Yeah, Kali being the one who actually is leading in terms of gold, surprisingly enough. She's been doing a pretty good job of just farming in general, but now they need to look for some entry point into the back line of Forsaken, and it's probably going to start with a Blink Epic Uppercut.
I think if Forsaken actually able to win this next team fight, they're going to end up taking the game here. There's a lot of pressure on the Papis right now, but one of the things to remember from last game, Dardes goes in, as now there's a huge pillar there to block a lot of entrances. Mogao trying to prevent any kind of entrance as well. We'll see Sunbrick dividing the team fight incredibly well out of the Papis there, but David Arnaz looking so low right now. Mogao taking a lot of burst damage here. Dela looking for his way in. Dardes gets pulled in by David Arnaz, and David Arnaz will have to ulti himself right there. Dardes should be forcing into his own passive there, and he will fall into it as Tin gonna fall. No, he's barely survived. He gets out. He's safe and sound. Fly to safety going massive in the back line. He's gonna triple kill. Jermaine also follows up, and that'll be it. The near genocide. Forsaken gonna take a big game, and everybody survived. What a fight out of Forsaken there, and a huge play from Fly to safety to win the game and win the series. Forsaken will defend their title in week 2 of the Challengers Cup.
Oh my goodness, such a good game. Oh god, I thought I was going to say.
If they died there, I would have been a little bit disappointed.
Such a good game out of Forsaken there. I mean, it looked really bad for a moment, but then over-focusing the Kumbhakarna cost them so much. His passive proc, and it just allowed for them to turn their attention over onto other members as they was like, okay, you know what? They're focused on Kumbhakarna. Let's go ahead and let Kali go wild in the back line. Let's go ahead and just burst damage from tins. Let's go ahead and just do whatever we can to salvage this fight. And they did more so than salvage it. I mean, they absolutely dominated it. Perilla went off this game. He did absolutely fantastic, but that's it. He is the only one who did fantastic. Soul was not able to securely or safely do anything all game, 1 in 8. And meanwhile, the Alex MC, while he did split push like a champion, he wasn't able to translate that over into winning team fights for his team, which is one of the reasons why people will always prefer some bruiser slash CC oriented characters, because no matter what, if you are a bruiser, if you are a character with a lot of CC, you can always leave an impact for your team. No matter if you're ahead, no matter if you're behind, doesn't matter.
And honestly, Shadow Boy, what do you think the defining point of this game was, though? Like, what allowed Forsaken to get ahead and take the victory before that team fight?
I think the consistency of how much the consistency of the farm between Fly to Safety and Mogao was definitely a huge factor. At one point, Odin was on a rampage, and I think he ended on a rampage just because no one was able to kill him. But then the other factor, I think, was the consistency of Kumbhakarna just always being a nuisance, always being a distraction at every point in time. I mean, the front line really was the unsung hero of this game. Even though Kali just got that epic triple kill in the backside, Kumbhakarna with Odin had so many individual plays that the subtlety of those plays made the difference between winning or losing that team fight or taking an objective like Fire Giant.
Honestly, if I had to call an MVP for this series in general, it'd be a toss between Dardes and Mogao. They both played lights out in all 3 of the games here. Mogao played incredibly impressively on Odin every single game here. the big question I want to have answered is I want to see what else he has in his roster as we move towards the next few weeks of Challengers Cup, as this is only week 2. We have about 3 weeks left of open bracket, I believe, and then I think with this second week of victory, Forsaken are guaranteed into the group stage. I believe so, at least. So this will be a team we're going to see in the top 8, most likely.
I think both these teams have definitely proven that they're going to be in the top 8, more than likely. I highly doubt that we're going to see any other story. I mean, both of them have made it to the finals not once but twice. So with them both being there so consistently, it's really a matter of who's going to take the most points, I feel like, more so than whether or not they will have the points.
Good point. Well, that'll be the wrap for this week. So, Shadow Boy, go ahead, plug yourself. Where can they find you, and do you have any final messages?
Well, you can find me at ShadowboyGG on Twitter, and that pretty much sums up my thoughts. Good tournament overall. Glad to see everyone come out from all nationalities and all places, players and spectators alike.
And you may also find our production at Extreme Man on Twitter as well. He also does a lot of other content on other sites. At the same time, you find me at Soza Smites on Twitter. It has been a pleasure to have all you out here for today, and hopefully we'll see you guys tomorrow for the North American Challengers Cup as well. Plenty more good games to be had, and I hope to see you guys in the next few weeks of Challengers Cup. It's been a good one. We'll see you guys next week.